What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction video. We have Chandrayaan 3. UK news anchor stirs up controversy. British aid to India. Before we can dive into this video, if you guys enjoy it, make sure you subscribe, ring notification bell, get a video a thumbs up. Let's see what we're talking about.
Let's go across to our guest joining us. Sushant is Senior Fellow of the ORF. Also, Sophie Corcoran is political commentator. She's British but based out of Australia. Sophie, I saw your tweet. Your tweet has garnered more than 1 million views on Twitter. You talk about not just the fact that you are aghast that UK is giving this aid to India, but you also want it back. Is that not unfair, just that comment, as if Britain has never succeeded by trampling over India and India's resources?
No, I don't think it's unfair at all. If you're creating a incredible space program that, has defied the odds in the world, is doing much better than everybody else, your economy is much larger than ours now, there's no reason for our country to be giving India aid. And it's not coming from a place of jealousy. The fact of the matter is that many in the West would view or have viewed in the past as India as being some unsuccessful third world country. But the fact of the matter is that India doesn't need to be babysat by the UK. You don't need our aid. You've got, incredible economic growth. You've got incredible, infrastructure. You've got incredible innovation in order to do something that many other countries haven't been able to succeed. I mean, India was the first country to ever land a mission on the south side of the moon.
That's incredible.
You don't need British aid. Our economy here is declining. So why on earth are we sending millions of pounds of taxpayers' money in investment into India or through aid programs when India doesn't need our aid?
Frankly, most Indians will agree with you that we don't really need the British aid. And as I said, the official aid to India, government to government India, did stop almost a decade back. So whatever aid comes in is, as I said, as per British policy, for mutual benefit and prosperity. It is aimed at creating jobs in UK too. So when you say, if you had left it at asking the question on your government as to why you're giving this aid to India, I don't mind, you are well within your right to ask that question to your government. But what do you mean by taking it back? What about all the money that Britishers looted from India? When are we ever going to see reparations for that?
I mean, firstly, I think that's absolutely ludicrous to suggest that the British taxpayer now should be paying for colonisation, because no British taxpayer alive pretty much has any influence or any involvement in colonisation. So this idea that my taxes should be going towards reparations for colonisation, I'm sorry, it's just ridiculous. But in that sense, why are we allowing our government? I have more of a problem with, no problem with India, but more of a problem with my own government. Is why are we sending aid to India, and where's this? I think it was something that in the last year, £54 billion of investment. Why are we not keeping that money back if your economy is so advanced to the point that you can invest in these unbelievably successful missions? A lot of people have highlighted the inequality that exists in India and the mass poverty that exists in India. But in my opinion, it's a problem with your own form of government and not got anything to do with the British.
Sophie, I agree with you that you are well within your right to ask your government that question. And frankly, most Indians will be very okay if the Britishers stopped giving this aid, quote unquote, to India. But since you talked about getting that money back from India, which is an extreme position to take, I am well within my right to ask, how about you give us all the money you looted under colonial rule to India? But let me bring in Sushant here. Sushant, how do you...
I'm very intrigued at what he's got to say, because he's just been sitting there quietly listening, taking it in. So I can't wait to hear his response. So her take on it is that the UK shouldn't be sending any aid to India, which Shivani, I hope I said that name right, earlier said that it's not even aid. They're not like just giving us money to just help us. The money that the aid that they're giving is mutually beneficial to both countries, and she's saying it's actually helping to create jobs in the UK too. So it's not just helping us. And again, she said, like, you're right in saying that India doesn't need your aid. No, India doesn't need it to be successful. But what Shivani had a problem with was her saying to take the money back. And Shivani's like, well, what about all the money that India was looted for by the British? What about all those trillions of dollars? And that's when Sophie comes back and says that, well, no Britain alive today even was a part of any of that colonization. So why should we have to Why should we have, it's ludicrous to think that we should have to pay reparations for nothing that we were a part of. But in saying that, it's like, well, no Indians. I guess I don't know. I guess most Indians probably weren't alive when the colonization happened, but they have to suffer the consequences. They've had to of that colonization, and so you got to Sophie. You got to, I guess, reap the benefits. I couldn't really think of the words I was looking for of that colonization, and so. What's about to? I don't really. I want to hear what Sushant says before I can even give an opinion. But this is a very interesting argument.
See this, this new facet emerging from Britishers, especially, where they're like, oh, we don't need to give aid to India. We want this money back.
Shivani, I treat it with the kind of utter contempt this kind of talk deserves, and it's not just coming from these white racists in Britain or Australia or wherever else. It's also coming from the so-called liberal BBC. Just 3 or 4 years back when the Chandrayaan mission had failed, we've got that clip running around. So this disparaging attitude and this sneering attitude which these Brits have, is just too galling. But on the more substantive issues, number one, the government of India way back, I think in 2011 or 2012, under the Manmohan Singh government, had told everybody around the world, we don't want your aid.
Yes.
Okay? The Brits were not doing us any favor. They were doing charity out here, not because there was some altruism involved in it. They were doing it because they buy people out here, they buy their loyalties, they buy their lobbying thing. They want those people to lobby out here and disparage India. So, please give me a break. Take your money and shove it up wherever you want to shove it up. Okay? Number one. Number two, whatever monies they are giving right now, nothing is coming to the government of India. They're only giving it to NGOs which plug the line which the Brits want to do. And there is some of it which is going into business houses because they are trying to create markets and trying to create synergies between Indian businesses and British businesses. And the British themselves acknowledge that this money is being given because it creates jobs in Britain, it creates markets for Britain, and they're actually profiting from a lot of this money which they're giving to private sector people. The government of India is not taking a damn thing from these guys. So these guys should get their facts right and lay off. Now, on the other hand, I think it's also important to point out that because they don't have the competence to achieve the kind of scientific achievements that ISRO and many other Indians have, if they are feeling jealous about it, or they can't handle that a country which they colonized, they plundered, they pillaged, they looted, they raped, if those people are rising back and achieving things which these guys can't achieve and they're going back into the dark ages, learn to handle it, deal with it.
So if you want
Okay, so we can confidently say that Sushant did not hold back one bit. He said, first of all, if they upset about this, they can deal with it. Our government isn't getting $1 of that aid, of that money that y'all are sending. You're actually profiting off that money much more than our country. India is profiting off that money. In 2010, 2011, our government told the world, we don't want any of your aid. Point blank, we don't want it. And so he's like, this is what y'all are trying to buy people, and y'all are trying to buy loyalty, and that's where that money's going to. But the Indian government isn't getting a dime of it. So he said, y'all can take that money and shove it wherever you want. Okay, all right, Sophie, what you got to say to this?
respond to that?
Listen, mate, it's got nothing to do with jealousy. Would you rather me sit here and ignore the achievements of India and continue like the West are and thinking that India is some poverty-ridden third world country? Or do what I like have done and say India doesn't need aid? Of course it doesn't need aid because you're a successful country. You've got a massive economy. You're achieving massive economic growth and you're achieving extraordinary scientific invention. It's got nothing to do with jealousy, pointing out the fact that India has been a highly, highly successful country. But that is why India does not need our aid. And I think people, we're in agreement in a sense that this idea that we should be sending any form of aid to India is disrespectful, in my opinion, firstly to India as well, because you don't need our aid. You don't need the British people. And we, as British people, with an economy that is facing its challenges, don't need our money being sent elsewhere to countries like
Yes,
India.
but Sophie, don't you think that it's important to talk about that in the context that it deserves? For example, this thing coming up on as anger on social media by the social commentators in Britain because of Chandrayaan is misplaced. Now, the British aid is not helping our space mission. Our space mission or our moon mission, in any case, runs on very shoestring budgets. Just 600 crore rupees was the moon mission. So that aid is not meant for this space mission. That aid is meant for things that help Britain.
You're quite, but
Shivani, it's not even aid. I don't know why you keep calling it aid.
Yeah, fair enough. I
It's
think
not
it should be
aid.
questioned if it is aid at all. But Sushant, let her finish. I'll give you an opportunity.
Yes, my answer very clearly was the British people are angry at our government for sending India aid because they don't need aid. Clearly, if you've got a country that's the fifth largest economy in the world and is achieving some of the most incredible things out there, you don't. Why are we sending you money in those sorts of forms? I think not only is it ridiculous from our side of things, but it's also disrespectful from your side of things because India isn't some third world, poverty-ridden country.
Because India has already refused, it doesn't want this aid, but it cannot clamp down on these relationships between two friendly countries where exchanges do happen. And of course, for mutual benefits, these money does go around. And of course, there are contracts the governments have. That's a separate thing. So I hope you're not counting all of that because those are also mutually beneficial. But I have a minute left. Yes, Sushant. I just don't understand that why people talk about this. It's not just about the disparaging fact. First, on one side, they'll say, why does a poor country need a moon mission? Why don't you do something else with that money? Then they'll also say, oh, you are such a rich country, you can manage this mission. Why do you need our aid? The Britishers need to make up their mind.
So Shivani, first, it's not aid.
Yeah.
Number one, right? What they're doing is more of investments. They're getting profits out of whatever monies they are spending in India. And they are buying some amount of political influence. Number two, we are not their colony anymore, that we need to hear from them on what we should spend money on and what we should not spend money on. So we don't need their gratuitous advice. They can take it and again shove it up wherever they want to shove it up. Right? Number three, and very importantly, the Brits, they are giving money to Pakistanis, for example,
Yes,
for
they do.
improving their education. They've been giving money to the Pakistanis, I think, for the last 20 years. Millions, hundreds of millions of pounds. All that they have managed to do is to create mini emirates in Britain. And I won't be surprised in 20 years from now, you will have the Islamic Emirate of Great Britain in Britain. So good luck to these guys. They can keep pointing fingers at India. We don't need these fellows anymore. They can go take a hike for all we care.
Maybe the Indian government should seriously look at just stopping whatever is this quote-unquote aid that comes to India. But of course, if the government did that, the government did that, they'll be called draconian.
Yeah. The moment we do that, you wait and see the kind of howls of protest
Exactly.
that will come from these guys.
Exactly. So, it's heads I win, tails you lose, but it's the kind of commentary that doesn't really behoove anyone on an occasion when India is achieving what nobody in the world has achieved before. But I leave it at that. Sophie and Sushant, thanks a lot for your time and your comments.
I feel like that was a
Time
great
for
video.
us to slip into a very short break on the other side.
I think that was a great video, and they let both sides talk. And I don't think Sophie understands that it's not aid. It's investments that your country is actually profiting from, and that if India decide to shut down all of that and they just said no to everything, then that will hurt relationships between the two countries. And so I think she's seeing it as more of they're giving India money when India is already a very successful country and India's economy and everything is rising and has risen above the UK's. And she's saying we're the ones that are struggling now. So why are we sending money over there? But they're saying you're not giving us money. The money that you are sending are for investments and are to buy political loyalty. Is that what he said? Or political favor, but it's not helping us. The money that you're sending is not helping us. That money is money that you are profiting from. And so you hear the side from both stories, but that was a great debate. I love kind of getting a chance to listen to these debates. But that's all we have. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Also, if you enjoyed that reaction, make sure you check out this one next and subscribe to the channel. It's your boy Neal. Out.